Hello guys, I hope you're having a happy Halloween. Some people like to watch scary movies or play horror games around this time, and I do that too, much to my regret. But something else I like to do around this time is reading creepypasta. Internet horror stories that involve anything from cursed rituals to government experiments to games like Fallout. And with how creepy Fallout can already be, it should come as no surprise it's gotten a couple of stories over the years. Some good, and some apparently not so good. There's only one way to find out though. For Halloween, I'm going to read and rank the spookiest Fallout creepypastas. Stay tuned after this ad, and we'll get right into it. This video is sponsored by Stekja. Do you or any loved ones have your awards just piled on a shelf somewhere? Well, Stekja offers medal holders that help showcase success, whatever it might be. With a focus around customization, it's the perfect gift for celebrating any achievement at any age, whether it's swimming medals, gymnastics ribbons, martial arts belts, or academic awards. Complete with an area to write on and 10 plastic sleeves for photos or certificates, these medal holders aren't only ready to be customized throughout the years, but built to last through them as well. So you can easily switch up what sport, achievement, or award you're showing off and get to do it in style. Not to mention, it's super simple to set up, with everything you need for installation right in the box. Rather than hiding your success, why not showcase it today with Stekja? A link to their medal holder will be included in the description below. Again, thank you to Stekja for sponsoring today's video. And without further ado, let's get right back to it. The Lone Wolf Radio Shack in Fallout New Vegas appears abandoned. But this was not always the case. Originally, it was planned to be the home of the Lone Wolf, a character far more sadistic and depraved than any before featured in the Fallout franchise. He was planned to host the Lone Wolf radio station, which would feature insane ramblings and rants at unpredictable intervals throughout the day, until 11 p.m. when the station would go quiet. The Lone Wolf would then return at 3 a.m. with a child. A different child was featured every night, because the Lone Wolf would announce on air every night, "Everyone is gone. You are all alone. Let it all end," before viciously murdering them live on the station. Listening to the broadcast at 3 a.m. would initiate a quest, Little Dead Riding Hood, in which the courier has to track down the wolf and kill him or join him in murdering a child, resulting in a perk that allows the player to kill other in-game children. Accessing the child murder option was supposed to be very difficult to achieve. The character, quest, and perk were ultimately scrapped due to their shocking nature, plus the sheer effort required to record a unique murder for every night until the quest is complete. However, somewhere in Obsidian's archives, there exist recordings made for the Lone Wolf radio station, including simulated child murders, never to be released. All that remains in the final game is a small abandoned shack and small clues hidden throughout the Mojave. Alright, so this is a classic. The Lone Wolf Radio creepypasta, also known as Little Dead Riding Hood, is one that's basically given the Lone Wolf radio station a whole life of its own. It's a tiny location that's a pre-war trailer, alone and abandoned with pirate radio software inside. Created by Denise McMurray, it was inspired by a conspiracy theorist who spoke at the college she attended, and there really was no other intentions with the place. This whole story is a lie that Josh Sawyer himself debunked.
It's completely made up. Like, all that stuff about Lone Wolf Radio is completely made up. I have no idea where people got that idea from. I think someone just made it up.
But like the best scary stories or rumors about a place, this story has left its mark. People get creeped out just thinking that this could have been the site of a cut child killer quest. Even knowing it's fake, there's a different energy here now. And I'd say in that regard, the story is a success. Plus, not knowing stuff like who wrote the story, who created it, also gives it a slightly creepier vibe. Like a lot of classic creepypasta, this was just posted on a forum somewhere. It's like it just appeared one day, and the way it's formatted, you could almost believe it's kind of like a factoid. It kind of reminds me of those scary stories about killers in the woods or the Bunny Man Bridge, where on the one hand, you know it's not real, but on the other, there's just that slight amount of doubt. Some people give it flack for being too edgy or that it's unbelievable. And on that front, I don't know. New Vegas was already a game tackling some really dark subject matter, especially towards kids, that I can't really say it's impossible to have been thought up at one point in development. What is impossible, though, is the unique recording every night. No one in their right mind would plan for this seriously. Not even a blockbuster like GTA can pull off a unique radio broadcast forever. So this unique kill every night kind of takes me out of it, to be honest. Also, this line, the child murder option was supposed to be very difficult to achieve. Brother, just mod it in at that point. Be the psycho you deserve to be. Lone Wolf Radio definitely has its rough edges, but it's short, sweet, and it's made a location so much more than it originally was. So I'm feeling a low B tier for this one. Now, onto another classic. Fallout 3 contains several in-game radio stations. The most diverse and important station is Galaxy News Radio. Many players of the Evil Persuasion know that you can kill Three Dog and he will be replaced by the technician Margaret. She is not a charismatic personality and has very little to say, seeming to not enjoy her new announcing duties. She also never appears in person, and therefore cannot be killed. Once Three Dog is dead, you're stuck with Margaret. What most players do not know is that under certain circumstances, GNR will become a number station. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life, and some hypothesize that they are a nuclear retaliation control network. Simply check Wikipedia for more information about these odd broadcasts as they relate to the real world. Back to Fallout 3. No one is really sure which actions are needed to hear the number station in Fallout 3. It appears that you must kill Three Dog, because no one has reported hearing the number station with him still alive. It also appears that you have to skip over the quest Galaxy News Radio, where you help boost the signal so that the station can broadcast further than just the immediate DC area. This is easy enough to do, with either a speech check or simply using Fallout Wiki to look up where to go next and advance the main plot. Finally, you definitely have to choose to destroy Raven Rock. This is the actual trigger to turn GNR into a number station, and it will remain such for the rest of the game. However, the vast majority of players who perform these three actions still continue hearing the standard GNR broadcasts, so there must be several more requirements the community has yet to isolate. If you're lucky enough to have hit upon the right set of circumstances, just after destroying Raven Rock, you will get the message radio signal lost, and a few seconds later, radio signal found. You cannot, however, actually listen to GNR just yet, because you didn't boost the signal and are out of range of the broadcast at the exit of Raven Rock. Luckily, Raven Rock is situated in mountains and is right next to one of the few places outside DC that you can get high enough to catch the signal. So far, the confirmed locations to hear the GNR number signal are within the immediate DC area, obviously. This is true for the regular GNR throughout the game. At the top of the Ferris wheel on that backwater redneck island, I can't remember its name just now. On the tops of some of the SATCOM arrays you can climb in the northwestern map area, on the roof of Tenpenny Tower, though this may be within the normal broadcast range anyway. Feel free to playtest and get back to me on this. On the highest point of Broken Bridge around Arfew, again, may be within broadcast range anyway. On some of the highest points of Mountaintop in the area near Raven Rock. This is obviously your easiest chance to first listen to the number station. When you tune in, you will hear an old, familiar voice. Three Dog, despite the fact that you killed him earlier. However, you will notice that he does not seem to be in character. So I guess it's not technically Three Dog, but just the voice actor, Eric Dullums. He reads a series of numbers in a monotone, depressed-sounding voice. He always recites a list of single digits between 9 and 12 characters long. For example, 9, 3, 7, 9, 1, 7, 2, 0, 3, 4. He never uses a multi-digit number like 11 or 40. These numbers are followed by widely varying lengths of Morse code. This is then followed by the song, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. All other music tracks seem to be inactive on the number station. The Morse code was the easiest part of the mystery to crack, as the code is widely available and many people actually know it by heart. We quickly had a list of a great number of messages in English. Some sounded completely mundane and even comical, such as, "Washed the car today, maybe Chinese for dinner," or "Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I upload myself kicking bums in the nuts." You may be saying, "But wait, YouTube doesn't exist in the Fallout universe," and you are right. As far as we could tell, all of the messages sounded like they were based in our reality somewhere near present day. Some of the messages, however, are quite sinister, such as, "The Queen died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits." Or, "I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. The noise. I can't take the noise anymore. I have a pistol in the attic." Just recently, a player on the wiki forums noticed a message that brought to light the meaning of the messages. He was reading a thread that collected all known messages, transposed from Morse to English, and he saw the line 12055282010. What are you talking about? You'll be missed. He realized this referred to the recent death of Gary Coleman, and then quickly realized the numbers were the time and date of death. He immediately scanned through the messages to try and find more examples of this apparent future telling by a game that's more than a year old. The next message he read shocked him, and pushed him to enlist the aid of others to decipher the codes. The message was 945420210. Accident in the Gulf, several dead. Oil spill apparently averted. He realized this was the BP explosion and the erroneous Day 1 assessment that the well was not leaking. From this point on, all numbers will be transcribed as times and dates. All times were given in-game in military format and remain so in this document. Numerous members of the Fallout Wiki message board began looking over the messages to see what else we could learn. We quickly found that most of the dates were after the game had been released, yet oddly, some were from the past. 2215, April 15th, 1865. He's dead, and blame will probably be placed on that actor Booth. Johnson better not cheat me out of the payment. This shed new doubt on the official version of the Lincoln assassination. As the community quickly started piling up interpretations of the messages, the mods of the site banned everyone who had posted in or even read the thread. All references to the number station was removed from Fallout Wiki, and filtering software was put in place to prevent reposting of any relevant information. A few people, however, are trading emails and slowly finishing the translation of the remaining messages and putting dates to the existing ones. The Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits. 4:02, March 19th, 2014. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the nuts. 24/16, December 24, 2012. I can't believe Britney's actually won an Oscar. 21:33, February 27, 2023. I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. They were warned, but they just had to keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise. I can't take the noise anymore. And the light, dear God. The universe is slowly unraveling around us. I'm not gonna wait for death. I have a pistol in the attic. This is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers. It may be worth noting that the latest date on any of the messages is 127, July 6th, 2027. Alright, and that was the Fallout 3 Number Station creepypasta. This is actually one I remember reading as a kid, and while it's definitely aged with some of the completely wrong prophecies, I like it. This is another one of those stories where the author isn't actually known. It's a mystery. The story would appear in random forums, and it's just kind of caught on. It gives it a kind of more ominous air, not knowing who the creator is or what the origin is exactly. There's a couple issues, a few typos here and there, but I like the storytelling. There's a mystery to this story. The author doesn't know everything, and piece by piece, we learn more about what seems like an obscure Easter egg that becomes a whole lot more. With Lone Wolf, it's short and sweet, but there's not a lot to chew on with how it's presented. It's very blunt in its approach, and I think that's kind of why it either works for people or it doesn't. Whereas here, Number Station is much more of a slow burn, taking its time, getting you hooked in until you get to that ending, which as a kid, yeah, it stuck with me. Like I said earlier though, it has aged a bit now, and it's kind of cheesy because we know the Queen had a lot more to her endurance stat, and those other prophecies like the Britney one didn't come true. I think this story could have been A tier if they just cut it off right here and brushed up what they had. You could have avoided the repetition going over the same predictions again, as well as their dates being wrong. A nuclear take here, but the story would have been scarier not knowing at all when this stuff was supposed to happen. It's why the last prediction is the scariest. So why fake the dates when you can just leave them a mystery and make younger me worry about them at night? For as silly as the story sounds though, I do dig the execution here for the most part. Number Station is a fun read, and again, with just a few tweaks, it could be A tier. I can already picture people editing the original story with new dates or different prophecies to fix it up. I'm gonna go with B tier. And heck, I'm gonna put it right above Lone Wolf Radio. Now onto the next story. I've sunk over 800 hours into Fallout New Vegas. I thought I'd done everything. Every quest, every ending, every glitch. But something happened during a recent Legion run that I've never seen before. Something I've tried to replicate a dozen times since, and failed. I've always played an older version of New Vegas on my original Xbox 360. It still runs like a champ, so I never felt the need to upgrade. I was attempting a perfect Legion run, trying to complete every single Legion quest in the shortest amount of time without help from any other faction. It was a playthrough I'd done a million times before, but this time, I did a few things differently. At one point, I was breezing through Caesar's dialogue like always. Then something strange happened. Just before clicking through a line, I got a flash of something. A unique speech check. There and gone in an instant. I'm not exactly sure what triggered it, but a new quest popped up immediately after passing the check. No name, just the quest notification sound and a single objective. Speak to Vulpes. I tried talking to Caesar again, but nothing happened. No text, no voice. He just stared at me, blank and still. That's when I realized I had completely skipped over Nipton in this run. I'd gone straight to Cottonwood Cove. I left Caesar's tent curious, even excited to see what this hidden objective might lead to. But as I stepped out, the feeling changed. Every Legionnaire in the fort just watched me. No chatter, no patrols, no movement. It felt like I had broken some invisible rule. Whenever I turned around, they were still staring, completely motionless. I opened my Pip-Boy to fast travel, but a message popped up. You cannot fast travel when enemies are nearby. Except there weren't any enemies, nothing hostile in sight. Still, I had no choice. I had to walk. The Mojave was barren. The entire journey, I didn't encounter a single NPC, not a rad roach, not a single Brahmin caravan. It felt like the game world was holding its breath. When I finally arrived at Nipton, that feeling only got worse. The smoke from the burning tire piles hung thick in the air, but the usual chaos was gone. No powder gangers, no crows, no screams. The crucifixes outside the town hall were still there, but empty. Just swaying ropes and rusted nails. Oliver Swanwick, the powder ganger who always sprints up to you, nowhere to be found. I followed the quest marker closer, and there he was, Vulpes and Colta, standing alone on the steps of the burned town hall. No recruits, no dogs, just him, staring at nothing. He slowly walked toward me, and I was caught off guard. Instead of engaging in the usual scripted dialogue, he just kept walking, right past me. I followed him. He walked to the edge of town and finally stopped. I pressed the button to speak to him. The camera zoomed in, just like any normal conversation. Just an empty text box. The screen froze, then it went black, and the ending slides began to play. But I was only halfway through the game. I hadn't even visited the strip. No Hoover Dam, no Endgame factions. The first slide showed Novak, burning. I hadn't even discovered Novak in the save. Next, Sloan, filled with corpses. Mine are stacked in piles like garbage, blood smeared on the rocks. Then Boone, crucified outside a Legion camp. His mouth was soon shut. I'd never even recruited him. Slide after slide, towns I'd never visited, companions I'd never met. All destroyed. Faction leaders, McNamara, House, the Khans. All brutally executed. No narration, no music, just silence. And every few seconds, a faint static pop as the slide changed. Then, the final image hit. It didn't fade in like the others. It flashed on screen, just long enough to make me flinch. It was Vulpes. Behind him, smeared across a stone wall in what looked like blood. We are Legion. Then the game crashed. When I came to, my hands were shaking. I managed to snap a pic of the first 2 slides and the final one. The rest were too fast, were too brutal. I tried booting the game back up. The save was corrupted, gone. I spent days trying to replicate the glitch, killing Ambassador Crocker early, using the platinum chip before delivering it. Skipping Nipton, letting Vulpes live, nothing worked. That hidden speech check in Caesar's dialogue never appeared again. I still don't know what I triggered. Maybe someone else out there does. But every day I check, I come up empty-handed. Alright, the Vulpes story. This is a newer creepypasta posted this year on the Fallout New Vegas subreddit by Recent Sprinkles 7474. And I enjoyed it. A big thing I like here is it doesn't ever really become too much. And it's a little thing, but the photos that accompany the story, it really does give me old school creepypasta vibes, like Ben Drowned, where there was, video, and it was kind of proof of what was happening. It adds a lot to the story. I like the whole We Are Legion demonic thing going on, which the author doesn't point out, which is appreciated. That might have been too corny. The only 2 big gripes I have with the story is the format, because it's just all one big paragraph. And I think the repetition is a little much as well. Whenever he's describing something, it's always in 3s. No powder gangers, no crows, no screams. No chatter, no patrols, no movement. Like, don't get me wrong, like, that kind of writing works, but when you kind of overplay it, you notice it and it can take you out of the story. I'm gonna go with a strong C on this one. It's not at the classic level, but it's certainly not bad. I think with a couple of fixes, it could honestly be B tier, which I can't say the same about some of these other stories, unfortunately. So, it was past midnight. My brother and I were checking out the new DLC for Fallout 3 called Point Lookout. It had just been released at the time. He was the one playing, and I was on the bed next to the computer, observing. If you're familiar with this DLC, you know there's a mission in which you're sent to retrieve a very special book for an old man living in one of the mansions on Point Lookout. The book was called the Creepypasta. And later on, you find out that it supposedly has some kind of dark power and needs to be destroyed. You can either give it back to the man, or destroy it by taking the book to the Dunwich building in the Capital Wasteland. As my brother is interested in occult stuff, he found this quest really interesting. Before even doing anything more with the quest, he went on Fallout Wiki and looked up all the info he could find on the book and what would happen after. I thought it was stupid of him to get everything spoiled, if he now found it such an interesting quest, but he said he somehow felt some kind of greater importance to it. After shooting through the ritual site, killing all the swamp folk there, he decided to destroy the book, which forced him to go back to the Capital Wasteland, the original game world. At this point, he didn't have enough caps to buy another riverboat ticket, so he killed Panada, a trader in Point Lookout at the docks, and took all of her caps. I found this very strange, as my brother isn't playing as a bad character and would always do the moral and right thing, wanting good karma, but not this time. After coming back to the riverboat docks in the Capital Wasteland, he began making his way towards the Dunwich building. Girdershade, the place where you get the Nuka-Cola challenge, was the closest location discovered, so he went there, only to realize that the place was deserted. The 2 people that used to live in the little town had vanished. We thought it must have been a game bug, as my brother never killed them. We ignored it and he moved on. Finally, he arrived. He went through the levels pretty quick, witnessed the hallucinations and the self-opening doors. We weren't really scared by any of that because we knew it was going to be there. He got to the underchambers and placed the book on the creepy-looking altar, and it somehow completed the mission by destroying the book. At this point, my brother figured it was a good time to head to Rivet City to sell some stuff he had gotten from Dunwich. Guess what? Not a single person could be found there. At this point, we got really freaked out. We checked the other settlements, Megaton, the Citadel, Tenpenny Tower, and all of them were empty. We restarted the game and reloaded, but nothing helped. We figured we could go back to Point Lookout and see if there was anyone left there. The only problem was that Tobar, the guy who owns the boat, wasn't around anymore either, so we couldn't buy a ticket. When my brother was about to leave the boat again, he was attacked. Attacked by the very same people missing from all of the settlements. It must have been over 100 people just charging the boat, throwing grenades, shooting missiles, wanting my brother dead. He didn't really have anything that could kill all the people at once, so he thought it would be a good idea if he went into the little cabin on the boat and wait for them to come. That didn't work out as we planned. They didn't run in. Instead, someone with a fat man launched a mini nuke into the cabin, completely blowing my brother into pieces. Right after that, the game froze and we had to restart it. Now, everything was fine. No one attacked us, and everyone was exactly where they were supposed to be. That was a creepypasta. I'm just gonna say it, this one was bad. It's an F. I don't know how else to put it, except it felt like a nothing story. NPCs go missing, and then a horde of them just chase the narrator's brother, and they blow him up with a fat man. Like, that's it. There was a little something where all of a sudden the brother's acting a little more evil, but that doesn't really go anywhere. Even the last line, which can add so much to a story and make it work, isn't unsettling or anything. It's just a statement. The idea of certain NPCs going missing could really work, I feel. It was a little creepy in the Vulpes story, right? But like with anything in writing, there has to be a point to it, to enhance the atmosphere or the story. An angry mob of vengeful NPCs works, but executed in this way for the sake of get nuked idiot isn't good. Go all out, like make them do the cannibal animation on the player's body or something crazy. As is, it's just lame. And it's so sad because I think a Point Lookout creepypasta could really be good. Like, Point Lookout is a atmospheric, creepy DLC. I can't really say much more than that. It's F. Let's move on to talking about a different kind of mob. There I was, sweating in my uncomfortable seat, surrounded by the sounds of obnoxious, unsynchronized clapping. Todd Howard had just made his usual appearance on the annual E3 Gaming Expo stage. The crowd was anxious, awaiting their anticipated announcements, ready to possibly be disappointed. Myself? I wasn't at the expo enduring the claustrophobic mania for some video games. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good RPG every once in a while, but that wasn't my intentions on the day in question. I was focused on Howard's body language, the glare in his eyes, looking for any subtle off movements, even his choice of dialogue. There's been something bugging me for some time that I have a firm and dedicated belief for. Todd and the company Bethesda are in fact a part of a secret cult. I know how crazy it sounds, but please just hear me out. Allow me to take you back to the traumatizing experience that started all of this. Orange, red, yellow. The leaves brought an offset of color to an otherwise gloomy autumn day. The season also happened to be the prefix to the disc that was held in my hands, Fallout 4. I was a little late at having my try at the game, as I picked it up around November of last year. Still, I was pretty excited to give it a go. It's gained a lot of popularity after all. With the game in my PS4 console, I recall myself sitting on my bed for hours on end. I was fully absorbed into the wasteland-filled virtual environment, forgetting about the spilled cup of cola on the floor next to my feet, and the fallen slice of pizza on my bedsheets. The real world around me was ultimately non-existent. It wasn't until my controller died that reality peeked through again. I, however, only used this moment of clarity to freak out and quickly plug in a charging cable between my system and controller. I had to hurry and jump back into the Fallout universe. This is where I felt I was worth something. This is where I didn't feel alone. Fallout 4 was a game where I could build, fight, and help people in need.
I'll mark it on your map.
The settlement crafting system pulled me in, allowing me to create houses out of resources I worked so hard for. Enemies that got in my way, I would fend off using practical weapons I made myself. On quests, I found mutants and irritated hostiles, the likes of which led me to achievements. These accolades made me feel great and wanted in this made-up reality. Finally, something made life livable that didn't have to be prescription or recreational drugs. My virtual ecstasy, however, came to an abrupt halt. I began noticing some things out of the ordinary, even for a game of fantasy. I'd come up to these electronic terminals in the game and notice some patterns. Whether I was in a shopping mart, a library, or a museum, the same word would pop up on the terminals, along with the rest of the text. I never really noticed, until I saw it appear even in multiples on some of the screens. The word that stuck my attention was end. Most wouldn't bat an eye at this. I mean, the game is set in a post-apocalyptic world, so the word end is rather fitting. For one reason or another, it didn't feel fitting to me at all. I see this word pop up all the time throughout my life. Everyone has that magic number that seems to follow them everywhere they go, whether it's the lucky number 7 or unlucky 13. Well, mine is the word end. I see it inside gas stations, grocery stores, the daily newspaper, even on cereal boxes. This word is constantly being thrown at me. As soon as I started noticing this, I decided to look at one more terminal in the game. I came across one that was fairly easy to get to. There wasn't much disturbance, just some destroyed cars, no enemies in sight. This terminal didn't seem unusual at first. The same common words lit up on the monitor. Then, something obstructed the screen. The entire thing filled up with my least favorite word, typed over and over. It sped up gradually, eventually to the point that my eyes couldn't keep up. I was wildly confused, wondering if this was just part of the video game. It was then that I turned off the game, not caring about where I was or when I last saved my progress. I was far too spooked to continue. Later that evening, I shared the experience with one of my close friends while hanging out at his house. I told him I finally gave the game a shot and mentioned what happened, hoping he wouldn't judge me and perhaps would know what I was talking about. My questions, to my dismay, were not answered. I put hundreds of hours into Fallout 4, and this isn't anything I've witnessed in my playthroughs, he stated. This led me to believe that I had simply played the game for so long that it had taken a toll on my mental state. Somehow, this theory just made me feel worse. Walking back home that day, my phone kept ringing from all sorts of numbers, all of which I assumed were telemarketers, considering I didn't recognize the numbers. I ignored them for a while, but there was one I decided to finally answer. Hello? I questioned in a cautious tone. Hey, this is GameStop. Your copy of Fallout 4 you ordered has arrived from the warehouse. You can come by and pick it up anytime. We're open till 9 p.m. today. Thank you? I responded in a confused fashion. I started answering more calls, my cell phone being bombarded with one new number after another. Perplexed would be an understatement of which to describe my mind at that point in time. Each phone call was from a different GameStop, at least a dozen or so from across the country, calling to tell me I had a copy of Fallout 4 ready for pickup. At this point, I was more so frustrated than confused. I assumed my friend was playing some sort of prank at my expense. I eventually began blocking the numbers as they came in. Despite knowing where the calls were more than likely coming from, something about the ordeal wasn't sitting well with me. To make matters worse, something far more peculiar happened upon opening the door to my home. I didn't walk through the doorway. No, not in the slightest. As soon as the front door opened, I found myself sitting on my bed, controller in hand, looking directly at my TV screen. It's tough for me to explain, but it felt as if I never left the house. The game itself was still running, stopped right where I left off, the word end plastered across the terminal screen, and yet again multiplying rapidly. I shot up from my bed and unplugged both my television and PlayStation. I looked up and noticed something. Everything in the room was just how I left it, but the walls, they were undoubtedly different. The word "end" surrounded the perimeter of my bedroom, written in all different colors and sizes. At first I was outraged, wondering who had broken into my house and vandalized my room. I thought it might have been my friend, pulling out all the stops to severely spook me. If so, it was working. This explanation fell flat when I realized that the word painted across my room was written in my own handwriting. But hold on, how does this make any sense? A harmless glitch? Hallucinations and writing on the walls? What does it all mean? Well, at this point I wasn't sure, but I knew I had to get to the bottom of it. Without a better plan in mind, I decided to go directly to the source, Todd Howard himself. And this is what brought me to a room full of boisterous clamor, waiting for the presentation to be over. I grew anxious sitting there, hoping I could speak with Mr. Howard. I didn't know what he'd say or if he'd even believe me, but I was a slave to my own wishful thinking. Perhaps he could explain all my worries away and put my mind at ease once and for all. Unfortunately for me, my issues couldn't be fixed with a patch or update. My heart racing, there finally came a time everyone left their seats. My legs were shaking, but that was mostly from sitting for such a long period of time. Just as I was about to stumble through the exit and head backstage, a man grabbed me by the arm and pulled me aside. It was none other than Todd Howard, in answer to my prayers. "About time, sir. We've been expecting you," he exclaimed. "You have?" "Of course. I've been waiting for you to get the hint, to finally come join us. Just please don't tell anybody," he replied. "Join you for what?" "I'm gathering a number of people to help us at Bethesda to start a doomsday plan. I'm not at liberty to say why you or any of the others were chosen, but I can tell you that we are using Fallout as a net to capture those that can be of use to us. It also foreshadows what the world will look like in the near future. That's if, of course, you and the others are willing to join us. We can't do it on our own. What would happen, hypothetically speaking, if I don't join? Well, you're free to do whatever you'd like, but the end has already begun. If you don't help us, someone will take your place, and I just know that you'll regret it. The clock is ticking." Mr. Howard handed me a business card, upon which was the text, "Pre-register for your spot on the end list today," along with the 1-800 number. I took the card and went back to my hotel room to get some rest and process everything. It'd be a nice way to relax and hopefully cope with the strange events occurring in my life. I would soon find that relaxation was nowhere within reach. Entering my room, anger and disorientation came over me. The TV in the hotel room was lit up with a copy of Fallout 4 playing. It was stuck on the same screen with the word "N" typed up all over it, just as it was back on that November day. As if this wasn't enough, my phone rang, though this time, a number I recognized. "Hey Dad, what's up?" I answered with, as I normally did when my father called. "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you during your trip, but I have some upsetting news to share with you. Your brother just passed away moments ago." "Wait, what? How?" I shouted out of shock and despair. I was never close to my brother, with him always being away at war and whatnot. It sounds horrible, but it felt like he was more of a distant relative than a sibling. Even still, my heart sunk. The nurses aren't completely certain, but they claim radiation poisoning was at fault. I find that questionable, because no bombs have been dropped near his location. They're going to do a further analysis in the coming week to let us know. I'll be back in town as soon as possible. Please keep me updated if any other information comes up. I'm not sure how to handle this. I was just talking to him a couple of days ago. I let out, along with a single tear of pure grief. "I will, son. This is just as hard for me, and I'll be devastated for as long as this world lasts. He'll be looking down on us, smiling. At least he's in a better place." My father said this in a tone of hurt and heartache. He then changed the subject, probably to lighten the mood a bit, something he awkwardly did to avoid dealing with more serious issues. "Hey, by the way, I have a piece of mail I found stuck in my door tonight. Pretty odd for a Sunday. It has my name on it, but I think it's for you. It says something about a Fallout 76 beta invitation. It has the word "end" written all over it. Do you want it?" I hung up on my own father. I'm not sure why or how I found myself in this ongoing nightmare, but it feels like I'm trapped in my own apocalypse. Take these words however you'd like. Believe what you want, but Bethesda is not a game company. Todd Howard is up to something, and this is the start of the end. This was definitely not a good story, but coming off the Point Lookout one, at least it was funny. It was kind of so bad it's good, you know what I mean? It did make me laugh. I have read that this might be a creepypasta satire, and you definitely get the vibe this is almost intentionally bad. Like, there's no way somebody wrote this stuff with a straight face. No father is gonna announce the death of your soldier brother with, "I'm sorry to bother you, I have some upsetting news." Or how the nurses claim radiation poisoning was at fault. Like, where was this dude stationed at? Nobody talks like normal people in the story. Not even the narrator. Like the rest of the writing, it's just weirdly verbose. Like, there's no way somebody is playing Fallout 4 on the PS4 and saying it's virtual ecstasy. Get your standards up, buddy, come on. Bethesda Cult wasn't a good story, but it was entertaining, it was funny, and as any fellow Bethesda cultist would know, entertaining and funny does make up for a lot. So I'm gonna go with D tier. Now, last but kinda not least, we have an entry I've covered before from my classic Fallout Iceberg series. In Fallout 2, after you beat the game, you can continue playing. Remember that defunct vault near the beginning? The one with the toxic sludge on the ground, and the elevator where you kill golden geckos. It's called Toxic Caves on the world map, but it is clearly a very small vault with 3 levels, including the first cave level, where you take a ladder down to the actual vault structure. Well, if you have one of the original pressings of the game and you have not patched it, you can return to the Toxic Caves after the game is over, and if you have the item Heart Pills from the Weston Murder Quest, you can kill yourself in the elevator. After the usual death scene plays, the screen will stay black without the menu screen opening up. After several minutes, you will begin to hear a hollow, echoey, white noise cave sort of sound. The screen will slowly fade back in to find your character in a pile of that nasty biomass goo that was all around the master from the first game. Your character will stand up and the usual ambient soundtrack will start playing, but the white noise will still be there. Explore this new level, but do not pick any locks. Those areas are extremely off limits, and the developers put some very nasty programming tricks into the code to protect their secrets. As you continue farther into the level, you will hear the white noise continue to increase in volume, and the ambient soundtrack you are so used to will exhibit strange artifacts. This may be because of the difficulty of playing 2 music tracks simultaneously in the Fallout engine, which wasn't designed to be able to do this. Passing locked door after locked door, you will come upon many of the characters you met earlier in the game. Oddly, you only find characters that died, or that would reasonably be expected to die after you last saw them. Like the official endings, the characters found vary depending on how you play the game. If you were the good guy and tried to solve problems without violence, you will only find a few bad guys and unfortunate victims here. If you slaughtered every town, you will see several hundred characters. Regardless of what you did earlier, none of the characters will speak to you or react to any action in any way. They can't be pickpocketed, killed, pushed aside, or healed. If you try to use first aid, doctor, or any healing item on them, the game will tell you in the text box. It's much too late for that chosen. It would appear that this area is purgatory, or possibly hell, based on being populated entirely by dead characters. The final character, standing just before the final door, is always a player character model from the first Fallout. This is the only character you can interact with, and as you approach, the white noise reaches a crescendo, and the ambient music abrupt cuts out. If you simply bypass him and open the door, the game will play the end credits once again, only with pictures of Hiroshima and Nagasaki victims in the background. This is in extreme poor taste, and many have wondered why the creators would be so insensitive. When asked, they deny the sequence exists and call it a hack that was never in the game at all. After it ends, you're greeted with a typical game over screen and are booted to the desktop. If you talk to the final character, he will explain that he is in fact the Vault Dweller from the original game, your ancestor. He will tell you that he is disappointed in the way you turned out, and he will turn his back on you, and your character will collapse into a pile of bones in the death animation that I have never seen in the game itself. Afterwards, the game will fade to white and lock up the computer, forcing a hard reset. There is a third option. Those locked doors I mentioned earlier? This is one door. It's always random as to which door, but if you get lucky in picking, you can use any heavy explosive to blow it open. Inside, you will find a single footlocker hold a 10mm pistol with no clip in the picture and no ammo in it. None of your normal 10mm ammo can be used. You can load the gun with the Easter egg found in the basement of New Reno Arms. Fire this into the head of the final character, and the game will cut to a over-the-shoulder video showing a young man playing an unidentified Fallout-like game. Some people claim that this is an early version of either Fallout Tactics or Van Buren, but nothing on the screen seems to fit either of those games. Also, neither of those games had started development at the time of the original pressing of Fallout 2. The video itself is poorly lit, with the apparent intention of being a creepy... something, but nothing spooky actually happens in the video. The game simply plays the unknown game and the video slowly fades into your desktop. Cool trick. I'm not really sure how they managed a tragularly translucing screen back then. Another strange trick is that according to many players, the final character always matches the character they most recently played in Fallout 1. Both gender and their apparel at the end of the previous game are represented. At first, this would appear to be a save game hack, much like Psycho Mantis in Metal Gear Solid. But the trick works even if the original Fallout was played on a different computer, without transferring any data to the new PC. It's recommended that you do not turn on any televisions in your house for several hours after experiencing this extra ending. You will quickly realize that the white noise in the game is identical to the white noise now coming from your television. Cable, satellite, and even antenna, if you still have that, are all somehow incapable of picking up a signal for some time after the secret ending. All internet connections, however, seem to still work. That's how I'm writing this to you now. The funny thing is, I turned my television back off nearly an hour ago, as well as my computer speakers, but I still hear the static getting louder. Returning to the story again did not make it any better, but I can safely say at least it's not F tier. It's definitely not on the same level as the Point Lookout story. I will say this is a D tier story. It's a shame because I think there's solid ideas here. The whole limbo idea of running into people you've killed or gotten killed is really cool, and it sounds like something out of the Sorrow fight in Snake Eater. It could have even been an inspiration for the writer, who mentioned Psycho Mantis. So maybe not too much of a stretch there. Also, I do dig the idea that the player character from the first game is permanently remembered somehow, even if you don't play the sequel on the same computer. I just can't shake the feeling that with some better execution, we could have gotten a solid story. Nothing great, but something on the level of the Vulpes ending. Except we don't get that. We get really unfortunate typos, and the idea that somehow this is just a known Easter egg to many Fallout players. As if many people know Fallout 2 has evil static demons or something. It's unfortunate, because there is something here, but it's just not a hit.
A hit is a hit, and this, my friend, is not a hit.
And that's all the spooky Fallout creepypastas I could find. A link to each story will be left in the description below. And while I do trust you guys, please do keep things civil. It's fun to read creepypastas and even the not so good ones. But remember, writing is tough stuff. Even if I wasn't a fan of some of these stories, I give the writers props for putting their stuff out there. And it's cool to see two of my favorite things, horror and Fallout, get merged together. Maybe we'll get some more in the future, and who knows, maybe they'll learn a thing or two from what's on offer. Horror never changes, but horror media always can. So I am looking forward to what's to come. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, there's donations below, including to my Patreon. For just $1, you can become a champion of the wastes. So instead of this, you'll get to be this. If you want to help me in a different way, please like, comment, and subscribe, since it does help me against the algorithm. Also, always feel free to leave any suggestions or feedback in the comments below, since I do read them and it means a lot to know what you guys want going forward. But again, thank you guys for watching. Much more to come. In the meantime, stay safe out there.
Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop.